Most people knew Naomi Briggs as the kind of woman who never ran in the hallway. She didn't shout, she didn't panic, and she didn't tell stories about her past. In a hospital where adrenaline ran high and emotions often spilled over, Naomi was a rare constant, solid, calm, and always exactly where she needed to be. She worked the overnight respiratory rounds at St. Jude Regional, quietly tending to ventilators and airway monitors for the ICU's most fragile patients. She clocked in, did her work with surgical precision, and clocked out. That's what everyone thought they knew, until the night the fire came. Welcome to Pick the Helmet, a channel with interesting military stories. Before we continue with this interesting story of courage, tell me in the comments from which city you're watching today. And if you feel stories like this deserve to be told, hit that subscribe button. The hospital was in sleep mode. Lights dimmed, monitors beeped steadily. Naomi had just adjusted the pressure support on a ventilator for a teenage car crash victim when the hallway lights became unsteady. She paused, hand on the machine, her body going still. A second later, the fire alarm howled, but that didn't bother her. What did? The smell. Burning insulation, acrid plastic, electrical smoke. It wasn't coming from the walls, it was in the airflow, being pumped directly into the ICU from the ventilation system. Her lungs tightened. She instinctively grabbed a mask from the supply cart. Then came the noise. A loud pop somewhere deep in the hospital, followed by silence. And then the floor went dark. What most people in that hospital didn't know, what no one had bothered to ask, was that Naomi Briggs hadn't always been a quiet hospital worker. 15 years earlier, she had been Petty Officer Briggs with the U.S. Navy, stationed in field surgical teams under the United Nations Command in Mali and later Syria. She had intubated burn victims in tents surrounded by gunfire. She had carried children through collapsed buildings. She had done more in 10 minutes than most people do in a lifetime. And now, she was going to do it again. She moved through smoke like it was a memory. The backup power didn't come on. The automatic doors in the ICU locked themselves in a safety protocol. No one could get in. No one could get out. 32 patients on ventilators, 12 of them unable to breathe without assistance. Nurses shouting, code buttons unresponsive, monitors dying. The staff was panicking, and the air was getting thick. Naomi pulled the emergency lighting lever by hand and flooded the hallway with dim red glow. Then she turned, looked at the team around her, and spoke in a tone no one had ever heard from her before. Quiet, right now. Everyone breathe slow. Follow my voice. It wasn't a suggestion, it was a command, and they all obeyed. She had exactly one mobile suction unit, 3 portable resuscitation bags, 7 staff members on the floor, 5 nurses, a med tech, and a janitor. No elevators, phones down, no communication with other wards. 10 minutes of breathable air before patients began coding, maybe less. She made decisions like the soldier she used to be. Remove patients who could walk. Start manual ventilation for the completely dependent. Secure meds, suction, and clean oxygen masks. She turned to the janitor. What's your name? Dante, he said. Dante, you're with me. We're carrying who can't walk, now. To the med tech. Take a head count. I want numbers, ages, conditions, who's ventilated, who can move. To the rest. Forget protocol. This is survival. We do it smart. We do it fast, or we don't do it at all. They nodded, eyes wide. She had them. The first wave of patients was lined up. 3 of them were ambulatory but disoriented. Naomi personally guided them to the stairwell, coughing the whole way through the blackened smoke. Then she turned back, chest rising slower now. She was pacing herself. 2 patients had already gone into distress. Naomi grabbed the bag valve mask and knelt beside the first. Middle-aged man, post-stroke, fully dependent on oxygen. 10 breaths per minute, steady rhythm, she told one of the nurses, pressing her hands over the nurse's trembling ones. Like this, you will keep him alive. She moved to the next room. Naomi and Dante lifted a woman off her bed, IV lines trailing behind her. Her ventilator was dead. Naomi kept squeezing the bag with one hand while descending the stairs with the other, Dante supporting the patient's body. Smoke clung to the walls. The stairwell was blacked out. Somewhere below, they heard a crash. Someone had dropped a bed rail. Naomi didn't flinch. By the time they returned, 3 more patients were critical. One had flatlined, a young boy. She pushed past 2 nurses arguing and grabbed the defibrillator, one of the few battery-powered ones on the floor. "Clear!" she shouted. Shock. No response. Another shock. Then, a heartbeat. The nurse who had been shouting just stared. "Move," Naomi growled. "He's stable. Next." There were only 2 bags left, 3 patients who needed them. One was a woman in her 70s with stage 4 cancer. Her family had said goodbye 2 days ago. One was a 40-year-old father recovering from cardiac arrest. One was a 19-year-old college student who'd collapsed after a seizure. There was no time to explain, no time to ask permission, no time to debate morality. Naomi assigned the bags. She left the elderly woman without one, and in doing so, she made the choice that would haunt her. She found a nurse in the hallway hyperventilating, holding a mask but doing nothing with it. Naomi grabbed her shoulders. "Listen to me. You're not here to panic. You're here to save people. That man in room 412 will die if you don't help him breathe. Now go." And she did. For the next 4 minutes, Naomi barely stopped moving. 3 trips to the stairwell, 6 patients hand-ventilated, 2 cardiac arrests reversed. No external help, just 8 people. She found another nurse in the hallway, back against the wall, gasping for air, mask in one hand, paralyzed with fear. She crouched in front of her. "Breathe with me," she said softly, her voice steady despite the chaos. "In through the nose, out through the mouth. You're okay. We still have work to do." The nurse blinked, shook, then nodded. Naomi guided her hand to the mask. "Room 415 needs you. He's alive, but not for long. Go." And she went. Naomi didn't stop. She turned the corner and heard a choking sound. Room 419. Inside, a patient's oxygen line had melted where it connected to the wall unit. He was seizing, turning blue. Naomi leapt onto the bed without hesitation. She tilted his head, cleared his airway, and suctioned the mucus with a portable unit that had less than 10% battery left. She bit the tubing open with her teeth, reattached the manual valve, and began squeezing air into his lungs rhythmically. "Stay with me, just a little longer," she whispered. Behind her, she heard coughing. Another nurse had collapsed while trying to carry a supply kit. Naomi jumped down, grabbed the nurse by the arms, and dragged her into the medroom, slamming the door shut to slow the smoke. She handed her a damp cloth and a bottle of oxygen from the emergency cabinet. No wasted movements, no panic. Then came a call down the hallway. "We're out of clean masks." Naomi didn't respond. She sprinted to the burn unit on the opposite side of the floor, where she knew emergency oxygen kits were kept in fireproof drawers. She broke the glass with her elbow, grabbed 3 sealed kits, and ran back. Every second mattered. By now, her uniform was soaked in sweat, her fingers cut and raw, her voice cracked from smoke, but her eyes were still sharp. A sharp hum, then unsteady white light returned to the hallway. Systems rebooted. Monitors restarted. Oxygen rushed back into the rooms. Ventilators came back to life. Naomi dropped to her knees, her face smeared with soot, her arms trembling. 1 patient was lost. 31 survived. When the fire department finally cleared the building and communications returned, staff from other floors arrived, stunned to find most of the ICU intact. The hospital director arrived just before sunrise. His voice was tight with shock as he addressed the team. "I'm told someone led the evacuation. That you, Ms. Briggs?" Naomi, still sitting on the floor, looked up. "Yes, sir." "You had command authority?" "No, I had experience." "What kind of experience prepares someone for this?" Naomi paused. For the first time in years, she reached into her pocket and pulled out an old laminated card, cracked at the corners, long faded. "Petty Officer Naomi Briggs, U.S. Navy, Field Medical Corps, 2007-2014. The director took it slowly. "You never told anyone?" "No one ever asked," she said. That night changed everything. By the end of the week, the hospital had created a new division, Crisis Readiness and Emergency Protocols. Naomi was offered the lead position. At first, she refused. She didn't really want to stand out, didn't want to explain her past. But something her supervisor said changed her mind. "Your silence helped 31 people live, but your voice could train hundreds to save thousands." She took the job. Now she works part-time as a respiratory therapist and full-time training staff for what happens when everything goes wrong. If you were touched by this story, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join us in sharing good stories that matter. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next story.